Welcome to my channel. Today the topic is double objects in active voice and passive voice. Sometimes we see that in active voice and passive voice uh, there are two objects in a sentence. If there is two sentence, how how will we solve that problem? And how can we sense it into the passive voice? So I'll explain you one by one with example. Here I have given two example in this video. Here the sentence has two object. Here it is. You can see here. Wait a moment. Here two sentences given here. One is I teach him an English. Here we see one him. The second one is English. So this sentence has two object. And below that example, she gave me a pen. Me also an object. Fn is also object. In this type of sentence, how we gonna solve? We gonna sense into passive voice. So here, I'm gonna explain one by one. And the sentence which referring directly is known as direct object. This one is known as direct object. Indirectly, it's referring to it. That's why it's called indirect object. Here me is indirect object, fan is a direct object. You can see here. So we can solve in two types. We can sense into passive voice in two types here. Here, uh, two types of passive tense you can sense it with the direct object as well as the indirect object. Suppose if we sense uh, with indirect object, how will you sense it? First, me will sense into I in object in passive voice. I, as the sentence is past tense, that's why was auxiliary verb came out. And in the rules there is always the sentence in passive voice is third form of verb. uh, gave, gave became given, and fn, like this. I was given a fan, like this. If you want to sense with the indirect object, this is how you have to sense. But in the second form, or when you sense with the uh, direct object, here it is given with example. This is a bit difference from the indirect one. A fan was, as this is, I already told you, this is past tense. That's why was auxiliary verb was came out and given to me. Here to came out to. In which sentence we gonna use to? We gonna use for. I have already mentioned in these notes here. You see the some types of verbs. After writing, you have to write to, or you have to use to. For with, buy, and make, get. With this verb, you have to write for like this. As it is give. Here you give. After give, uh, to is necessary. That's why fn was given to me, like this. If you want to sense with the indirect direct object, here you have to adjust the verb like this. Same like this. Now all the sentence you can see here, and the third active, they bought him a gift. This him will become what? He. So here it is he. He was bought. He was bought a gift like this. And we have not written by because it's not important. That's why by them like this. Okay, not necessary. That's why I'm gonna explain you later that one also. In passive voice, you see here when when sense with direct object. Here you see a gift was bought. After bought, it used for. Okay. Here it is used to, but after buy became bought, so we need to use for. You got it? Let's move to another topic. Here, I told you before. Sometimes we see in active voice and passive voice there are no object in the passive voice. Why? Why there is no object? Uh, there is reasons for so there is. mm, Here I have given you why there is no object. Object is not written in passive voice because of some situation like when the object is unknown, means you don't know the door. Door is who is there. That's why we don't use by. You see, I've given cross mark like here. And when the sometimes when the door is unknown, we don't use by in passive voice. Also, when the door is obvious, very obvious, that's we don't use. When the door is referred to general people, in this situation also we don't use by. When the door is not important, in that situation we don't use by. If the door is important, that time we need to use by. Here I've given you with example. Uh, yeah, look at here. When not to use by in passive voice. In a very easy. If I have already mentioned you above that the rules. If the door is not important, we don't use by in passive voice. Here you see the door is unknown. Here my phone is stolen. Sorry, my phone is stolen. Here written. We don't know who has stolen the phone. Unknown. That's why the door who has done it we don't know. Uh, my phone was stolen in passive voice because we don't know who has stolen. Maybe someone. That's why the door is unknown. We don't write by someone or something. We don't use. And below that, the door is obvious. When the door is obvious, like the thief was arrested, we know that who arrest. Obviously, it's the police arrest. That's why it's obvious that the thief was arrested. Thief are arrested by police. No, that's why. That's obvious. When the door is obvious, uh, in that situation also we don't use by. Yeah, that's why I have written here. Everyone knows police arrest thieves. That is obvious. The door is obvious. So we don't use by the police like this. Okay. Next, uh, when the door means people in general. When the door is referring to general, all. In that situation also we don't use by. Here, English is spoken all over the world. English is spoken all over the world. We know that who spoke English. People speak English all over the world. General truth. So we don't have to write English is spoken all over the world by people like this. We don't have to write. Just up to here. In passive voice. Okay, these are all in passive voice. In and the fourth thing is when the door is not important. You know that the door is not important. Only the action matters. That in that situation also we don't use by. Yes, the window was broken. Only it's focusing on the action. The window was broken, not who broke it. Okay, yeah, we care. That's why the window is broken. In that situation also we don't use by. And I have given here, for example, when to use by. When the door is very important. In this situation, we use by. You see, Ramayana was written by Valmiki. Valmiki. It is very important who has written it. That's why we have to write it. Otherwise, no need. And because without by, without using it, the meaning will be incomplete. So the meaning will be incomplete. That's why we need to write by. So you can see you you don't have to write those sentence, those words like indefinite pronouns. Uh, Wherever there is indefinite pronouns or general people or general truth, we don't have to write in that situation by. Okay. I hope you understand. If you have any query, please ask me in the comment section. Thank you for watching my video.